Alright, now where we last left off. So, where we last left off, I just got a DUI for walking back to my house with no keys on me and nobody saw me driving. After getting into an argument with this girl who I had been helping a lot. And yeah, so the boyfriend that she left me for cheated on her and broke up with her. She showed up midnight 2012 crying. When I got arrested, that was October, late October. And she showed up to my house midnight crying, so I let her stay at my house. She was sad that that kid or whatever broke up with her. So, a few months later, I get the police report. Now, before this, I thought, well, it's no problem if I get this DUI because the cops have it on record and the girl's gonna tell them what actually happened, that I had just drank that 40 ounces of wine. So I thought, I'm safe. I'm not gonna get an attorney or a lawyer. So I get the police report, and what it says in the police report is that I had been out drinking beer for several hours with friends. And I was like, WTF? This is the exact opposite of what happened. I was home, alone, all night, until I picked her up and brought her back to my house, and I had just chugged 40 ounces of wine, not beer. Was like... So what had happened was, the cops asked the girl what she was doing, and then assumed that I was doing it with her. She had been out drinking beer for several hours with her boyfriend and his friends, and like I said, oh, that's okay, because she's gonna testify on my behalf, and also, what had happened was the cops asked her what she was doing, and she said that she was out drinking for several hours with friends, and then the cops wrote on the report that I said that. But I thought that that was okay because they have record of my conversation in the cop car. Also, the girl's gonna testify on my behalf, she said, of what really happened. So, I didn't get a lawyer because I thought I was gonna get off. Now, on the day of the preliminary hearing, she doesn't show up. The judge gives me time to call her, and she doesn't answer her phone. And so, yeah, the charges didn't get dropped. By this time, I thought, now I need a lawyer. So I go talk to the lawyer, and he doesn't believe me. And he also said, well, there's no evidence of any recording in the police car. The only evidence that they had was her 911 call. And my lawyer said she sounded like she was drunk, so the jury is never gonna believe her either. At this point, I didn't care anymore, honestly. In fact, I was driving around super drunk now because I thought I might as well get a DUI for actually driving drunk. Whereas before that, I was like, I'm not gonna drive drunk because that was stupid what happened when I rear-ended that car at 60 miles an hour. But now I was thinking, I don't even care anymore. I'm gonna get a DUI, or what's gonna happen is that my tire's gonna pop, or I'll get in a horrific accident and I'll die. Hopefully my car will burst into flames and I would die. And what had happened was my car actually did burst into flames. The engine blew. Blew a hole right in the block. Caught on fire while I was driving down the road. And if it didn't, I most likely would have died. So, yeah. Anyway, she had gotten a new boyfriend, and I was letting them both stay at my house. So I talked my mom into co-signing for her to get a car, because I thought she was going to give me rides now that I wouldn't have a license from a DUI. But what she did was just kept on ignoring me. I would ask her to do things with me and give me rides, like go to the movies and stuff, and she'd be like, "You're not my boyfriend." And I'm like, okay. So, at this time, I also couldn't get a job. And I applied to a lot of places. I would even go in and talk to the manager, and they'd say, "Yeah, we'll call you. We'll call you. Don't worry." And I was letting this girl live at my house with her boyfriend, who kept telling me she was my friend, but then doing the opposite. I got charged with a DUI for walking back to my house. No cops saw me driving. I couldn't get a job at McDonald's, for goodness sakes. At this point, I was just drinking just to be unconscious. I couldn't even drive anymore to kill myself. I just wanted to be unconscious. So, the cheapest thing to do was buy boxes of wine for $6. And at this point, I thought that if there is a God, then I'm the butt of the joke. Because my whole life, you've seen all of the bad luck, basically, that I've had. The most ridiculous, utter ridiculous bad luck ever. So, yeah. It was extremely unstable at this time. My mood would swing wildly just at the mere thought or sound of something that would remind me of anything I was trying to avoid, and I thought the universe was against me. God is against me. He's up there laughing. I didn't understand. I didn't understand why. I didn't understand people. I thought all of this was just random bad luck, or the universe is conspiring against me to laugh at me, basically. This stuff isn't random. This stuff just isn't random. Something is literally out to screw me. And my life was just an effed up joke, and I wished that I was dead. Basically. My life is just one pathetic big joke. So I cut my arms, that didn't work. I tried hanging myself to test to see how bad it would hurt if I failed. And it hurt a lot. And it hurt with just half my weight, so I was like, forget this. Now, at this time, I was taking a whole bunch of medications, like 5 medications, or 4. And I was at the maximum dose of 2 of those medications. And I went to see the psychologist, and he was like, "Here, try a 3rd one, and then a 4th one." So I was like, I'm gonna just stop taking all these and drink, because at least I won't be suicidal. So I started drinking myself to death. Hopefully, I could drink enough to die. So I just started drinking myself to death. I thought hopefully I could die, but drinking alcohol costs money, so I had to get a job. And after applying to 6 different McDonald's and trying to figure out how to answer the questions on the computer personality tests online so I could finally get an interview, the first few times I answered honestly, and then I started to try to figure out what answers they wanted, because I couldn't even get an interview. And it wasn't just at McDonald's. Basically, any place that had a computer test, I couldn't even get an interview. I couldn't get an interview because of these online tests. I didn't know how to answer the question. So, for example, there's a supermarket that had an online test. Based on my life experiences, I'm answering the questions wrong. So, for example, one of the questions was, you see a fellow employee taking money and putting it into his pocket, and the supervisor knows. Do you A, do nothing, B, talk to the employee, C, talk to the supervisor, or D, go over the supervisor's head? I chose A, do nothing, because the supervisor knows about it, and if I go over the head, well, previously, going over head, I had been threatened to be fired, so I said, I'm not choosing that one, and the supervisor already knows about it, so it's none of my business. I'm told that that answer is wrong. It's not the right answer. So anyway, after figuring out the answers that they wanted on the McDonald's test, I finally get an interview at a McDonald's after like 6 or 7 times of applying and them never calling me to even give me an interview. I finally get an interview. Then, on the day of the interview, I get the flu. I get the flu real bad. But since I had been trying for 6 months to even get an interview at McDonald's, right? I said, I'm gonna go into the interview even though I'm dog sick. Because I need a job real bad. I'm gonna go in real sick. I need a job real bad. I go into the interview and it goes terribly. I was all sweating. The manager went to shake my hand. I was like, it was all awkward. I was like, no, because I didn't want to make her sick. And I didn't want to tell her that I had the flu, right? Because then she'd be like, oh, I don't want to hire this guy. He's trying to get everybody sick. So, yeah, I didn't get the job. Then, after that, I thought for a minute. Wait a second. These online tests are discriminatory by automatically rejecting me from even getting an interview. Now, how I figured this out, how I came to that conclusion, aside from trying to figure out how to take the McDonald's personality test and then finally getting one after 7 times, how I really figured it out was I took a test and applied online for Old Country Buffet as a prep cook. I have had almost 2 years of management experience at Domino's and other years of working fast food and also at pizza shops. Also, I was in college taking culinary arts or culinary, and I had just applied as a prep cook, okay? And then a few minutes after I take the test, I get an email from Old Country Buffet that says, thank you for applying, but we are looking for someone that's a closer match to the position of prep cook. I was like, what are they looking for? Gordon Ramsay? It's just cutting vegetables. I'm in college for culinary arts. I got all this experience in a restaurant, and then I realized, okay, this is discriminating against me. Because what I did was I saw that, I got automatically rejected, and then I remembered, so I looked up the McDonald's test. I looked at the questions on the McDonald's test, and I saw, oh, this McDonald's test is clearly discriminating against my diagnosed disability, and that's illegal federally. For example, I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. One of the questions on the test for McDonald's was, you find yourself talking about yourself to others, or you like to talk about yourself to others, or something like that. 1 through 5, strongly disagree, strongly agree. And I put that I disagree strongly, because if you have social anxiety, you don't like to talk to other people, much less talk about yourself. So I said, this is discriminatory. So I filed for discrimination with the EEOC. These tests are discriminating against my diagnosed disability, and I can't even get an interview. I mean, come on. Prep cook. I was in college for culinary arts and had all of this restaurant experience, and I couldn't even get an interview. Here's a question on the Old Country Buffet test. You think people are too conservative. Like, what does that even mean? I can't, these test questions are like, it's particularly since I'm the type of person who analyzes things and overthinks things, because I could see things from different people's views. So that question, like, what does that even mean? I mean, I don't know. Here's the point. I file with the EEOC, and yeah. I thought to myself, I'm going to sue McDonald's and I'm going to make millions and millions. Yeah. Close to the end of 2012, I was feeling optimistic because even though I had still yet to get in trouble for that DUI for walking back to my house, I was feeling optimistic because I thought, I'm going to sue McDonald's for discrimination because their online tests were discriminating against my diagnosed disability of social anxiety at the very least. So an example of what was on the test was, after I talk to someone, I can tell how he or she is feeling. 1 through 5, strongly disagree, strongly agree. At that point in time, when I took that test, I didn't even know how or why people thought whatever they were thinking. I just knew that they were probably against me. So I put strongly disagree. And yeah, I'm told that that's not the answer that they want to hear. Because here's the thing, if you have social anxiety, you wouldn't have anxiety if you know why people thought that the way that they thought. Because then you could just avoid it and then you wouldn't have anxiety, right? So anyway, filed with the EEOC, Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, was gonna make millions from suing McDonald's. Then I started to think, maybe all these things happen for a reason. So, all these bad things in my life could happen for a reason, so that I could make millions and then start this business. Because I had a long record of mental health problems in which those tests were absolutely discriminating against. I mean, it's McDonald's, for goodness sakes. If people can get jobs at McDonald's who are criminals, and I couldn't even get an interview. I mean, who had been to jail? Who have felonies. People with felonies can get jobs at McDonald's. And I couldn't even get an interview because of these tests. I thought, I'm gonna make millions. All these things happen in my life for a reason, so that I could start these businesses that I always wanted to start and make money. Because you gotta have money to make money, to have money, to make money. Anyway, I thought, finally, I could be a success. And I was happy for once in my life because I thought all these things happened for a reason. Now, before that, I didn't even know that happiness existed. I mean, sure, I got happy sometimes, but I didn't know that happiness existed. Now, even though this happiness was based on getting that money, I was still feeling real positive and hopeful that things were going to work out. And I would go places and be real positive, and then I would get positive responses. Now, before this, I would get negative responses because I would be negative towards people first as a defense mechanism, and then I'd be sad that people didn't like me. So I'd be negative to them first to defend myself. That way I'd know why they didn't like me, and then be sad that they didn't like me. But now I could see that if you just be positive, most people would like you. I always wondered why I couldn't make friends with positive people, and I could only make friends with negative people. Well, this was because positive people don't want to be around negative people. Because what negative people do is they just always gotta make something negative. So a positive person will say something positive and hopeful, and then a negative person will say, yeah, but something negative. What? I'm just being realistic. Only negative happens. I'm just being realistic. And that annoys positive people. Just like negative people are annoyed by positive people. And negative people, they like to be around other negative people so that they can relate to them. Because they can relate to them. It makes them feel better about themselves. Basically, it makes them feel less frustrated and less negative. Misery loves company. Then they can talk about whose life sucks more. It makes them feel less negative. Anyway, so finally, after 15 months, because my lawyer just kept on deferring or whatever you call it, kept on postponing the trial or whatever. So after like 15 months, it was January 2013. Originally got arrested end of October 2011. Finally, it was 2013.